All right, let's dive right into the incredible world of electrochemistry. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty of how you can actually measure the electrical power that's just waiting to be unleashed from a chemical reaction, like the one powering the device you're watching this on right now. So let's start with the big question, the one we're here to answer. How in the world do you calculate the voltage of a chemical reaction? And yeah, it might look a little intimidating at first, but trust me, by the end of this, you'll see it's just a step-by-step process we can totally tackle together. Okay, to make this real, we need an example, right? We're going to use a total classic, the reaction from what's called a Daniell cell. You've got solid zinc reacting with copper ions, and they swap places to make zinc ions and solid copper. It's a beautiful little dance where zinc gets oxidized, it loses its electrons, and copper gets reduced, meaning it gobbles those electrons up. That movement of electrons, that, my friends, is electricity. This reaction is going to be our roadmap for everything that follows. Now, to figure out the voltage of our reaction, we can't just guess. We need a special tool, a secret weapon, if you will. And that tool is the Nernst equation. This is the key that unlocks a reaction's true electrical potential under any conditions, not just some ideal setup in a lab. And here it is in all its glory. Now, there are more complicated ways to write this, for sure, but this simplified version, this is the one you'll actually use like 99% of the time. What it does is brilliant. It connects the standard potential, that's the textbook value, to the actual potential you'd get based on the real-world concentrations of your chemicals. So let's quickly decode this thing so it's not just a bunch of symbols. E, that's our prize, that's the actual potential we're solving for. E naught, or E naught, that's your baseline, the standard value you just look up in a table. Z is simply how many electrons are jumping ship in the reaction. For our zinc and copper example, that's 2. And the brackets, that's just chemist speak for the concentration of your chemicals. Simple as that. All right, enough theory. Let's get our hands dirty with our first real calculation. We're not going to try to solve the whole battery at once. That'd be crazy. Instead, we'll use our new friend, the Nernst equation, to find the potential of just one part of it, a single half cell. So our specific mission, should we choose to accept it, is to figure out the voltage of just the copper electrode. And remember, we're not looking for its standard textbook potential. We want to know its actual potential, right now sitting in a solution with a very specific concentration of copper ions. Okay, so what do we know? Let's round up the usual suspects. From a standard reference table, we grab the E0 for copper, positive 0.34 volts. The problem tells us the concentration is a tiny 1 × 10⁻³ molar, and by looking at the reaction, we can see plain as day that 2 electrons are being exchanged. Perfect, we've got all the ingredients we need. And now for the fun part. We just plug everything into the equation. 0.34 goes in for E0, 2 goes in for Z. Now, you might be looking at that 1 on top of the fraction and thinking, hey, where did that come from? Well, here's the deal. Our product is solid copper. And in electrochemistry, the concentration of a pure solid thing is considered constant, so we just use the number 1. It's a handy little shortcut. Okay, you run that through the calculator and boom, there's our answer. The real actual potential of our copper half cell in these very specific conditions is 0.253 volts. And just like that, you've calculated your first electrode potential. Pretty cool, right? Awesome. We've got one piece of the puzzle. But a battery is a team sport. It needs 2 halves to really work. So now let's see how we combine these 2 half cells to find the total voltage, the whole shebang, which we call the electromotive force. This total voltage has a fancy name, electromotive force, or EMF for short. I like to think of it as the electrical oomph, or the pressure that's pushing the reaction forward. And here's the absolute key takeaway. It has to be a positive number. A negative EMF would basically mean the reaction doesn't want to happen on its own. So to calculate the EMF, first we need to know who's on what team, cathode or anode. There's a super simple rule of thumb. The half reaction with the higher standard potential, that's your cathode. That's where reduction happens. The one with the lower potential is the anode, where oxidation goes down. So for us, copper is the cathode and zinc is the anode. Easy. So let's imagine a brand new setup with some different concentrations. We're going to do the exact same thing we did before, just twice, once for each half cell. We run the Nernst equation for copper with its new concentration and get 0.295 volts. Then we do it for zinc with its concentration and get negative 0.845 volts. And now for the grand finale. How do we get the total voltage for the entire cell? It's ridiculously simple. You just take the potential of the cathode and subtract the potential of the anode. That's it. Always the bigger number minus the smaller number. So let's plug in the numbers we just calculated. That's 0.295 volts for our cathode minus, and pay close attention here, minus a negative 0.845 volts for the anode. And what happens when you subtract a negative? Right, you're actually adding them together. And there we have it. The total electromotive force of our little Daniell cell under these specific concentrations is a healthy, positive 1.14 volts. That is the actual, measurable voltage you would see on a voltmeter if you hooked it up to this exact battery. Okay, 1.14 volts. Cool number. But so what? What does that number really tell us about the chemistry that's happening inside? We know a positive voltage means the reaction happens spontaneously, but how spontaneous is it? To answer that, we connect our electrical world to the world of pure chemistry using something called the equilibrium constant. This final formula is basically our universal translator. It's an amazing little equation that lets us take that cell potential we just found, that delta E, and convert it directly into the equilibrium constant, or KEQ. And KEQ tells us just how much the reaction wants to go to completion. And you know, a sentence from our source material just nails it. It says, if this KEQ is very high, the reaction occurs. It's that simple. A positive voltage like the 1.14 volts we found will give you an absolutely gigantic number for KEQ. And a huge KEQ means the reaction goes one way, hard. It practically slams the door on going backwards. The reaction just happens, period. So we've gone from a simple reaction all the way to calculating its real-world power and predicting its chemical behavior. But the story is so much bigger than just batteries, right? This leaves us with a final thought to chew on. These exact same principles are at work everywhere. Think about the slow, relentless creep of rust on a car, or even the tiny electrical sparks firing in your brain that let you think a thought. It's all electrochemistry. So the question is, where else do you see this fundamental force shaping our world?